And critics say the owner of the restaurant should accept some of the blame. You decide.
Our food is absolutely bad for you.
Heart Attack Grill owner John Basso dresses up as a doctor and says the food in his restaurant is, quote, worth dying for. John Allman was the volunteer spokesman at the Heart Attack Grill in Las Vegas. He ate there every day. And, well, he just died of a massive heart attack right outside the restaurant. The last spokesman, Blair River, died too. He weighed 570 pounds. In 2012, 2 customers suffered heart attacks right in the restaurant, no less than 60 days apart.
Of course we've had heart attacks here. I wouldn't have it any other way.
At Heart Attack Grill, the unhealthier, the better. Check out the menu. Flatliner fries, butter fat shake, bypass burgers.
It just warms my heart to see children come into the Heart Attack Grill.
This 8-year-old attempts to eat a burger dubbed the quadruple bypass. It has nearly 10,000 calories.
It's absolutely slathered in lard.
They celebrate extreme obesity. If you weigh over 350 pounds, your food is free. You'd think Basso might feel bad about some of this, but he doesn't. Not one bit.
People wonder how I sleep at night, like a baby.
And John Basso, who's the owner of the Heart Attack Grill, joins me now from Las Vegas. Thanks, sir, for joining us. Your friend, John Allman, who I sense you were close to, I mean, he died. He had a heart attack. He was a spokesman for the restaurant. How did you, I mean, did you feel at all responsible for that?
I feel absolutely responsible. Anyone who were putting burgers in his mouth on a daily basis should feel responsible. Now, granted, we would warn him continuously. We'd say, hey, John, no, those burgers are going to kill you. He'd laugh it off, but John, if he did have the ability to be hearing us right now, would simply say one thing: I won't trade the experience for anything, because the experience, his last year and a half of his life, was a fun one. Any weight that he would have gained, by the way, he didn't. He remained about 180 pounds the entire time. But the diet that he underwent certainly wasn't good for him.
You also give away these burgers for free, if my understanding is correct, to people who already weigh over a certain amount. So you're incentivizing them even more to perhaps worsen their already existing problem. Isn't that true?
If a customer, or I call them patients, walk through the door and this patient is 400 pounds, do I either ban him from the door and say, no, sir, this isn't in your best interest, you should leave, or do I give him the burger with a smile on my face and pat him on the back and send him to his table?
But you do neither one of those things. You give it for free.
Exactly. I've chosen a third route, and that is, yes, I'll give him his burger so I'm not slapped with a discrimination suit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him his burger along with a lesson. I serve burgers, I serve fries, and I serve food for thought.
Sir, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of ways to get this message across. I can't imagine that your way is going to work. I'm not saying I know the right way, but this just seems dangerous.
As Mark Twain said, all things in moderation, including moderation. I don't preach moderation. That's a tired mantra. I tell people they have to turn it loose every once in a while. The only way you're going to take care of your health issues is to decide, hey, today is Thursday and it's my cheat day, and I'm going to have a burger this big if I want to.
All right, John Basso, thanks for joining us. An interesting point of view. Again,
sure. Thank you.
I'm not sure I completely agree, but I want to talk also to Dr. Suzanne Steinbaum. She's one of the country's top heart specialists. She's been on our program before. We are what we eat, Suzanne. We talked about this before. You know, I don't know if you could hear all of what John Basso was saying, but can you talk about high-fat, high-calorie foods overall, the kind that they serve at the Heart Attack Grill, suggest people eat often, how they really impact the heart?
You know, it's amazing. This is not my first time commenting on the Heart Attack Grill. What you have to realize is Mr. Basso has really made a business out of people's weaknesses. And the reality is that this high-fat food, it's killing people. We hear about heart attacks from this establishment on a regular basis. We know that if you eat high fats, the chances of your LDL, your bad cholesterol going up, leading to heart disease, is a significant reality. And this is sort of a microcosm of the United States of America and what happens when we eat high-fat foods.
You know, and the other thing that was mentioned, and I think John brought up a point that John Alleman, the man who died of a heart attack ultimately, he wasn't heavy. He weighed about, I think it's about 180 pounds. But that's not always the point, right? You don't have to be overweight or to look like you're someone who's about to have a heart attack to have a heart attack.
That's right. And I am the director of Women and Heart Disease at Lenox Hill. I'm a Go Red for Women spokesperson. And part of the message is it's not what you look like on the outside. We're so used to saying that women who look young and healthy and fit doesn't mean they have heart disease. And the reality is it's not so much about your weight. It's really about what your numbers are, what your cholesterol is, your blood pressure, your sugar levels. Certainly, if you have an increased abdominal girth, if you have a big belly, the chances of you having high cholesterol and high blood pressure and diabetes goes up. But if you don't have that and you're of normal weight, it doesn't mean that you're not at risk for heart disease.
We know that food can cause these problems, as we just were talking about with regard to the heart attack grill. What about reversing them as well, using food as medicine? I mean, is there a point where you say the vessels, blood vessels in the heart have been damaged so much that they can't be reversible?
It's never too late. And it's so amazing because even when I see people who have already had bypass or blockages in the arteries and have stents, these are people who can go out and exercise, change their diet, and really change the outcome of their disease process. It's never, ever too late to do something.
Hey, look, before I let you go, I want to tell you congratulations on your new book. It's a huge undertaking, a great book, Dr. Suzanne Steinbaum's Heart book. It's available now. Congratulations on that. And thanks so much for joining us, as always.
Thanks so much for having me.
And coming up, we're going to tell you about a simple test that can show if you or even your kids are at risk of sudden cardiac death. Stay with us. You know, it's hard to imagine the pain of losing a child, a young baby even, but that's exactly what happened to Darren and Phyllis Sudman in Philadelphia. The cause was sudden cardiac arrest from a heart condition that usually goes overlooked until it's too late. But there is a way to catch it in time.
Darren and Phyllis Sudman had a happy family life until their 3-month-old son Simon was found dead in his crib. In the midst of their shock, the Sudman's pediatrician told them, "Get tested."
Go get your hearts checked because babies don't die. It's just not supposed to happen.
They were in for another shock. Phyllis was diagnosed with a rare heart problem called long QT syndrome. It could have caused her heart to stop. She had none of the usual symptoms like unexplained fainting, but she unknowingly passed it on to Simon.
Once I was diagnosed with long QT syndrome, it can easily be treated.
After their tragedy, the Sudmans started Simon's Fund to pay for free heart screenings for any child in and near Philadelphia. The fund estimates that sudden cardiac arrest is responsible for up to 15% of sudden infant deaths. It's also the #1 killer of student athletes.
Every time we do a screening, we're potentially preventing that devastation from happening again and again and again.
Last year, with the help of the Sudmans, Pennsylvania became the first state to require education on sudden cardiac arrest for coaches, trainers, student athletes, and their parents.
To know that every coach in this state now has to behave a little differently, now has to know a little bit more about the health of their student athletes.
Since then, 5 other states have introduced similar bills.
It gives us tools to screen and assist the athletic trainer and athletic medical staffs to be able to detect those types of problems.
But right now, testing is only required for kids with symptoms. And the big reason is cost. An average screening runs anywhere from $200 to $1,000, depending on where you live. But the Sudmans think it's worth every penny.
The screening starts with an electrocardiogram, or EKG. That's only a first step. If it finds an abnormality, doctor's likely going to recommend a more thorough exam. Now, there are programs like Simon's Fund across the country that's going to subsidize costs for young athletes, so check with your pediatrician about this.